Ah, he did. He just enabled it. Excellent. All right. So everybody can hear us well. All is well. Everybody good. All hearts and minds are clear. Yes. Fantastic. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for dropping in on this Conversation Cafe for October 2023. My name is Phoenix Robinson. I am a co-host of the Conversation Cafe for Emerging Planners. This initiative was thought up by and enacted by Erin Tidwell, who is a graduate of the A&M program. We love Erin very much, and I hope to get her on next episode. So if you guys, I'm gonna have her email in the presentation that I bring up pretty soon. So I know we're on a limited schedule. Saiya has been great in volunteering to come to speak with us about the organization Census. I don't know how much she's going to say or tell, but just a brief tidbit about Census. Census was founded by Tasia O'Brien, if I may say, badass in the urban planning world. She started the initiative to enhance equity in the AI space, which is very much profound and very much on topic for the day. I'm going to give Saiya the mic so that she can give us her spill on everything, and then we will leave a little bit of room for questions at the end, if that's okay. So without further ado, Saiya, please take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation. And also, during this presentation, if anyone has questions, please unmute or just throw it in the chat. I love questions, so as many as possible. Okay, so let's get started. I'm Saiya. I work at Census. I'm currently their research design consultant. My background's in epidemiology and demography, but I then pivoted to urban planning and focused on urban spatial analytics. So I'm very much a quantitative person. I also love maps and dogs and printmaking. My role is very much designing research at Census, but I will talk about the platform and then also talk about the AI part of it. So today, I'm going to give you an overview of what Census is, a brief overview of inclusive community engagement and how Census is trying to change the status quo of community engagement, making it more accessible, inclusive, and representative. Also, I apologize if you hear some noises in the background. That's my puppy. So what is Census? Census is a full service solution that transforms public feedback and community engagement data that can come from meetings, surveys, or conversations into insights and reports. And the goal of Census is for intentional community engagement. And this screenshot is it's a screenshot of our platform. We're a startup, so it's always changing based on feedback, but this is what it looks like right now. So Census is also, we have members, and our members are urban planners, transportation planners, and urban designers, and they're the ones that use our solution. So they can work with our experts to design inclusive and equitable surveys and outreach plans, which includes sending SMS surveys, translating SMS surveys into multiple languages. Currently, we have 8 languages, even though here it says 7. You can import and transcribe audio and video files from a meeting, analyze public comments from online surveys, not necessarily done through the platform, but through other means. And you can analyze it all in one place on our platform with real-time insights provided on the dashboard. So this is a screenshot of the insights page, same as the slide before. And we use AI to categorize public comments into sentiments, solutions, concerns, and conditions. And the platform also allows members to review, edit, and download their insights. And later on in the presentation, I will talk about our AI categorization, which we call the Dubois method. One thing I wanted to touch on at Census is Census values really dictate everything that we do. So it's community where people can participate in conferences, but it's also the values are important because they guide the work culture and therefore guide the product. And Tasia, they call everybody badasses that work for them, which I love. And these are the 4 core values. So we value community over everything. We build intentional shit with integrity. We believe answers lie with the culture, not us. And we believe to change shit, you got to change shit. And this I will go back to a few times during the presentation because these values have guided certain parts of the platform. So now let's just talk briefly about inclusive community engagement. And I know y'all are planning students, so you probably know a lot about this. So it's just going to be a very, very brief sort of statement on it. So this is the current state of modern design. And I think in in planning school and the history of planning, we learn all about, the past things that have been done in urban planning that have not really been made to serve communities, like from redlining to urban renewal. And we're still not really out of that phase. We're at the peak of exclusionary design that leaves people out and has cost cities money from health infrastructure or economic issues. And cities can no longer afford this. So at Census, we believe that intentional engagement is inclusive engagement. And inclusive community engagement is so vital to urban planning because it fosters social equity, ensures that the voices of all groups and community members are heard and their unique needs addressed. Inclusivity also leads to better planning outcomes, as diverse perspectives bring forth innovative solutions to urban challenges. Local knowledge is always better than somebody coming from the outside. It also promotes a sense of ownership among residents if they're actively being engaged during projects. Active participation and co-creation are incredibly important in the development of urban planning projects. So for community engagement, you need representative data. And a lot of times we focus on sample size when we're collecting data, but we look at representative data, we just distill it down to demographics, which can be really reductive. So if it's not representative, though, it doesn't matter. You can engage the community on the street, you can engage them at meeting places, you can ask them to respond to surveys, host community hearings. But if you have the same 20 or 100 people showing up to all these events and responding to your surveys, you're not getting quality feedback. So the feedback you gather has major implications on an urban planning project. And historically, design and planning projects have resulted in racist and biased outcomes that don't support the city that they're being planned for. So the answers to our urban planning questions lie in the lived experience of the community. But how can you measure the feedback received and know it actually reflects the diverse and intersectional lived experiences of the people there? So for urban planners and transportation teams, the goal is to engage the community and get feedback on their needs, but we always hear how many responses do we need for this feedback to be good? And one of the things at Census is that a survey is not engagement. The trust and relationships built along the way and what you do with the survey results that's true engagement. Which is why at Census and through our platform, we encourage many different channels of engagement and promote multiple streams of feedback. So it can be SMS surveys, which I'll talk about in a second, paper surveys, online surveys, interviews, focus groups, emails, gamified experiences, virtual meetings, community conversations and committees. And each of these different channels of engagement will yield different things because you're accessing different people. Also, conducting outreach is strategy, and figuring out which groups of people that need to be included is really important. So aside from demographics, how do we do targeted engagement? At Census, we believe that just focusing on demographics is reductive, and It's important in planning, yes, but also who are the people that are going to be most impacted by that project, which is another aspect of the platform that I will go into next. So now that I've given you sort of a brief overview of what CoCensus is and why we are focusing on inclusive community engagement, I'm going to talk about how it works. And how it works is three main things that I'm going to discuss, and that's SMS surveys, CivicX, and then our AI, which we call the Dubois method. So SMS surveys. Why are SMS surveys a great tool for engagement? They are for many reasons. They give more transparent responses because a lot of times it's not face-to-face, it's anonymous. They are very simple. They can be very quick. It's a low resource and time activity, and you can put them out into multiple languages so you can reach non-English speaking populations or populations where English might not be the first language. Usually for a municipality to do SMS surveys, it can be steeped in bureaucracy, and then the added translation adds extra bureaucracy. So then it becomes a high time, high resource activity. So through CoCensus, we've automated this and we can do it very easily. Additionally, at a municipality or a planning firm, it does take a lot of high digital literacy to disseminate an SMS survey. And so we sort of have tried to bridge this gap by automating it, and our members can send out SMS surveys in multiple languages. And then on the dashboard, they get real-time insights into what's coming back to them. Text messages are also more conversational, and they're more accessible to people of all different abilities. And you can have an SMS survey without Wi-Fi. And on our platform, we've seen response rates as high as 60% with text message surveys. Compared to other survey methods, this is pretty high. I would say exceptionally high. So we feel like SMS surveys are a real game changer for more inclusive community development. The second thing I'm going to talk about through our platform is CivicX, which is a new solution that challenges the status quo of the historical community engagement framework. It completely reimagines outreach by focusing on diversity, equity, and representation. We're making it easy to connect with excluded groups and amplify voices that have gone unheard for too long. So what exactly does that mean? This goes back to talking about demographics. So instead of focusing on demographics and how we're doing our targeted outreach, we're focusing on who are the people that are using the project or who will be most impacted by the project. And in this screenshot of our dashboard, you can see that I've highlighted the goal by target group on the right bottom corner. So for example, if you have a transportation project and you want to do targeted outreach, separating your outreach into who bikes, who uses public transport, who has a car, who walks, and trying to get a representative sample across for a new transportation project to see how they will be impacted by that project instead of just breaking it down by demographics. And so on our platform, you can see which groups are responding to the survey. And this part of our platform came out of our community values because it speaks to the value of community over everything. Because the question was posed, how do we build trust with communities? And through a lot of design and iterative process and research, 2 of our staff members started to think about who is actually being represented in the data and making sure that the data becomes more of a story and actual community and individual voices that are contextualized. Yes, Phoenix, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to ask, there's the echo, sorry. Could you full screen this slide? We can't read
Oh
it
my
on.
gosh, I'm so sorry.
No worries,
did-
no worries.
Is that better? Did that help? Can
Thank you
everyone?
so much.
Okay.
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so now that you can see the goals by target group, so for the transportation example, biking, car, bus, train, or walking, and then broken down by age. And this is important because this is more representative of the people who will actually be using the project or impacted by the project. And it appropriately contextualizes the voices of the community. So instead of relying solely on numbers, we're also in our Civic X platform embracing the power of lived experiences. And it's because we mostly work with qualitative data, and we're now separating community outreach by these target groups that are not defined by demographics. The third big part of the co-census solution is our AI-powered insights. So our team developed this AI model using natural language processing, and it's a text classifier, which we call the Dubois. And it can take text or voice data that is collected and sort it into community feedback in the following categories. It will sort it into behaviors, which are actions, patterns, or reactions in the community, affect, responses to infrastructure or policy, conditions, physical infrastructure of the community, and then solutions, community requested outcomes or ideas. You can also filter by these in the platform, and you can filter by sentiment. So we have positive, negative, and neutral sentiments. And this has been very powerful. This is where our insights come from. And we quantify the qualitative. So you can see how many people responded positively, negatively, neutral, how many people had suggestions, and then you can filter and mix and match based on those different categories. So understanding community sentiments has also been a very powerful tool, because using our text analysis and natural language processing, we can quickly identify opinions and sentiments of the community. This also goes back to our core values, because everything for our AI was done in-house. It was labeled by staff, a really diverse set of staff, and it's double checked. It's a semi-supervised model that we've built on Amazon Web Services. It's also supposed to be an ethical tool. It's supposed to improve the work done by a planner, but not replace the planner. So every few weeks, we have a data labeling session as a company, and spent hours and hours going into the design, data labeling, and training of the algorithm, each time improving the accuracy. Right now we're at 76%. And as we continue to train it, the accuracy will only improve. So that's all I have for you all about co-census and inclusive community engagement. Does anyone have any questions or want me to go back to slides since they weren't very big at the beginning, or expand on anything I've said?
Okay, I'm gonna unmute from my end, but hold that thought. Yes. Can you guys still hear us okay? I'm still muted.
Yes.
No, I'm not. No, you are not.
I
Okay.
can hear
Can
you.
you guys hear? Yes, no, maybe so.
Can you hear us?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh gosh. What's that? Okay. Can you guys hear us? Yes, no.
Oh,
Yes, we can hear you.
you can hear me?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Somebody say something. Okay, cool.
So I'm Florina Dutt. and I am a faculty here. So I don't know if y'all can see. They can't see me though. Okay, that's
Mhm.
fine. So you wanna?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, hi. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing because some of the work aligned to what you are doing. So I was very interested to see the kind of work you are doing. So would you be able to explain us a little bit on how we, you know, as researcher can use co-census? What are the pricing, or is it free to some extent? And how, like, can we come up with our data and use our data to, and use some of the tools that you are providing, or you were giving us the entire set of data? If you can like explain that workflow a little bit, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's part of your questions that I don't actually know because I work on the research design part, but I can explain the workflow, and then I can, for pricing and like using the platform, I can connect you with our community manager at the end of this. But the general workflow is that a planner or designer will come to us with a lot of data, a lot of qualitative data, either from public meetings, focus groups, interviews that they've conducted, and then they'll upload it onto the platform. So we take Excel, CSV, audio, video, and then that is all analyzed in the insights page using the Dubois method. So basically the user uploads all their data and then they look at the insights page. The second workflow is if a planner or designer or firm comes to us saying, we want to design equitable community engagement. How do we do this in an inclusive, representative way? Then me or one of the other research designers work with them to design an outreach strategy and design survey questions that then can either be used in an SMS survey, which is programmed through the platform, and all of the responses come straight through the platform and to the insights page. So it's all real time. And those are the two workflows. So either people already have their data and they need it analyzed, or people need to come up with a strategy to collect data and then analyze that data. And sorry, one more thing. For the once all the data has been collected or uploaded, we also do custom reports. So depending on what the research question is, we can do a like community solutions report or a comprehensive report based on your needs.
And would you be able to like give us some ideas on pricing, or how our students might use those tools, or how we can use those tools in our classroom environment if there is an opportunity to some of the softwares or some of the companies like would give some student discount or some student packages, like if they want to use something in their research, can they use it, or how is it? Or some of the pricing, if there is any educational pricing for researchers, or if you don't know that, that's okay. Can you show us the page, or give us some more info how we can get information on pricing and stuff like that would be really helpful.
So I don't
Yeah.
know pricing. However, and I'm not sure about like research, academic student discounts, but what I can do is send out the website and you can look at all the demos, and because we do tend to we have a sales team that will speak with people one-on-one before they start using the platform. And I don't work that closely on that side of it, but I can send you the website and the demos. And then I can also have our community manager reach out, and she'll be able to give you significantly better information than I can about that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a great presentation, and it's those are some of the tools very helpful for our community. And it's nice to see if, like I do a lot of natural language processing myself, customized to my research area, but it's always good to have those tools more and more accessible for our communities to use. And it's good to see that you are coming up with a solution. And then your presentation was great. Our students came to know some of that. And so we will, be in touch and like to hear more about it in future. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I cut the camera for two reasons. One, apparently my bandwidth or something was acting up, so I don't think everyone kind of heard those questions. Saiya, I will get with you and get that information for Dr. Dutt, because I recognize that this might be a tool that the program wants to use. I will also echo her sentiments and say thank you for talking about co-census and the work that you guys are doing. If you don't mind, could you kind of go back over your personal background and how you kind of came to work? I wanted to use the bio that Tasia gave me, but I was just like, it's not doing enough. It's not really giving. So if you don't mind talking about yourself and kind of how you came to work with co-census and what your background is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked in public health for 10 years, where I did do a lot of community engagement. I worked in all different kinds of settings in public health, from HIV prevention in the southern states. I used to live in Atlanta, to working on public health programs with nonprofits in New York. And then I came to this realization through my public health work that so much of our health is dictated by our environment, which seems fairly obvious, but when you're so embedded in public health and thinking about statistics and like a biomedical model of disease, you don't talk about the built environment as much. And so I decided to go back to school for urban planning, and I focused on spatial analytics. I really like making maps, remote sensing, sort of the quantitative and programming part of urban planning. But all of my previous experience has been in research, public health research. So I started doing that while I was in school, working for two professors, doing research on water adaptation, and then New York renewable energy uptake. And after I graduated, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So as planning students, many of you might resonate. It feels like, there's a lot you can do with planning, but it's also figuring out what work culture you fit in with. So for me, I realized I love ideation, iteration, design, co-creation. So I decided to consult with startups. And so CoSensus is one of them, where I'm their research design consultant. And that really uses a lot of my background in academic research and nonprofit programs, because that's where sort of the emphasis on inclusivity, equitable design came into play for me. And then the other hats I guess I wear, I worked for another startup that was looking at affordable housing incentives and mapping them out. And I also work in policy, making maps for different decision makers and doing data analysis. I love working at CoSensus. The community values that I talked about are so important and really do dictate how we work. And for me, that has been incredible. And as a planner, that's something I hope to take with me in all my future jobs.
That's a word. 1 second. Oh, well, it's fine. The echo is fine. But no, would you mind pulling up your values again? It's gonna be that. Yes. So I think talking about the values is important. In being a planner in any capacity, whether it's local, environmental, or what have you, you have values that will drive you. And you have to stick by those. I mean, we obviously have the code of ethics that we have to abide by, which all of us have to abide by. But I think it helps to have some of those things that kind of stick to you and that guide you as you're doing the work that you're doing. You briefly spoke about the history of planning, which some would say is contentious, and being that we have a lot of people of color in this program, I think it's important to have those discussions about what that history has looked like and how, as young planners getting into the field, what you may be faced with. So in saying that, have there been times where you guys have worked on something, a project, or in partnership with someone where your values were challenged, or you just simply had a difficult time in working with the people involved?
So I will answer that very honestly. At Census, I haven't experienced that because Tasia, the founder, really protects their staff from that. So if something doesn't seem right, they take care of it. And to be a leader that does that is revolutionary. I've never worked in a place where that has happened, and it makes a huge difference in the way people work. I will say, for me personally, I have had that happen many times since I consult with, I guess, different startups and nonprofits. But now that I've worked at Census, and having these values, that doesn't need, I realize now that doesn't need to be the way work happens in the planning sphere. And I think that at Census, when something does happen, there's a lot of discussion about all the different viewpoints, why it's how it's solved, where everyone's included.
No, I appreciate that. And I love that Tasia has made it her mission to keep the negativity, I guess, at bay, if I can say that. I also love the fact that she was called to kind of do this. Dr. Rachmana, if I can kind of talk about our discussions, especially with Dr. Dutt, this was a topic that came about because we recognize more than ever that inclusivity is obviously a key component of planning, but we don't often get that input. And so it's very interesting to find that someone started an entire company or even an initiative to enhance that and is actively working to improve inclusivity. Also, given that in working with AI, anybody can put anything into the AI sphere and it be considered as law. And I want to caution people in using that tool.
You're breaking up.
There is some negativity to that. Also, thank you for putting your contact info in the chat. For those that are tuning in virtually, please check the chat. She just put in her email and some of her additional contact info. Hope you get bombarded with questions. Back to my point, it's just great to know that there are planners out there that have recognized these gaps in inclusivity and are using a very popular tool, artificial intelligence, to enhance that and to make planning a more inclusive space. I guess I will yield the rest of the time to anyone that has any additional questions. I see Dr. Rachmana has come off mute, so I know he's getting ready to say something. But again, allow me to thank you. I do hope people go to the Census website and kind of poke around and look around. It's really cool. Very concise information. The graphics are great. She only showed a little bit, but no, Census is very tight, very tight. Also look up Tasia O'Brien. She's dope. She's doing a lot of other different things. Apparently she's a filmmaker. Didn't know that. So yeah, Dr. Rahmana, do you have anything?
Thank you very much. Of course, Saya, thank you very much for being here. I am the chair of this department, so I'm very honored to have you. So we are very grateful. Of course, also with the support from Phoenix Robinson, we have been very instrumental in running this program. So I like to say that first. We like to thank you for your time, for your being here and engaging with our students. So we have two classes in this event. One is UPL 404, social justice, and then we have also UPL 103, which is community and youth. We also have students in our undergrad students and graduate students in planning programs in our department. I also noticed alums also joining us here in this program. So I really appreciate they are being here, being part of this program. I have a question. It's important to know that you emphasize about inclusive planning. The way we have this census, right, to rectify that issues with planning in the past. So if you can just give us one example from the application of this census, or we can rectify that issue that we had in the past that not really engage with these people of color, of disadvantaged population. Because in the beginning you said about redlining, right? So maybe you can also give some illustration, particularly for our students in that social justice class or those community and youth class that they are just beginning to learn about planning. Please, Saya, thank you.
Do you want like a real use case from
Yes, please. Yes.
So I think something that we've just worked on is that there is a really large school district in California that wants to get feedback on their capital planning project, which happens to be a new middle school. And in the past, the way that they did outreach was they held a town hall and anybody that could come gave their feedback. But the problem with that is who can come in the middle of the day. So that's a difficult time. And then they did say they did one Zoom in the evening, but you have to have Wi-Fi and you have to have a computer and you have to know how to use Zoom. And the school district is it's a predominantly immigrant community. And so to get actual feedback on their school, because the community is growing and their needs are changing, they did an SMS survey and they translated it into 5 languages. And there has been responses coming in nonstop. And they said that it was an unprecedented amount of responses. What they will do with that, now that's the next step, but right now we're still in the gathering data. And they did get feedback that they appreciated the multiple languages because that really allowed people who never would have been able to even come to the meetings or Zoom and say their piece to give really nuanced and detailed feedback to these questions.
Thank you. I saw hand from Ali.
I have to step up here. Next question. Yes, it's on. You texted it?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind saying it verbally since I wrote your name? What's your name? Daniel? Okay, so Daniel has a question. He said he typed it in the chat. He doesn't want to say it now.
Is
I'll
it,
read it. I can see it. Is co-census strictly used for demographic analysis only? And can you display for us to see some of the demographic maps that you've made?
so we don't do demographic analysis in consensus, which I know it can be confusing with the name census in it, like you equate it to census demographics, but we don't actually disaggregate the data by demographics in that way. We do it by those targeted groups, and that's based on the project. So the example I had was transportation, this one. And this is a feature that hasn't been rolled out fully yet. We also, the only maps that are in the platform right now are if a user has an SMS survey and they wanted to know the zip code, then we get the zip code. But otherwise, and then with the zip code, there's like a heat map of concerns, solutions, or positive sentiments, negative sentiments, neutral sentiments. And I don't have any examples of those, but if you go to our website, we do have, I think we have one on there. So it's not really a demographic map, and we're still, because it's a startup, so we're always iterating and like there's always new ideas, and we're still sort of figuring out the mapping part.
If I may say really quickly, I'm sorry, the echo is throwing me a little bit, but I think what co-census is good at is looking at kind of that person-to-person data that if you went to the census and found maps on the census website, you'd get the depiction of people, whereas co-census, you get their actual opinions and kind of how they genuinely feel, which is important in planning because these are the people that are going to be impacted by whatever your plan suggests, whatever course of action it advocates to improve that community in whatever way they choose. And so I also said that to say in planning, there has to be different layers. And I think COSIS is just like Social Explorer, just like the Census website, provide you those different layers of information to holistically get a view of what a community needs and what it desires. So I'm glad that, not to say that you all won't get there, Saiya, but I'm glad that you all are considering how you depict that information, because just as people have different opinions, people learn in different ways. And so you also have to be considerate of that when you are putting together information for a plan. Yes, it's great to have graphics and it's great to have suggestions and goals and things like that, but how is that information derived? I think that CoCensus is a platform that can kind of get to that and speak to that kind of nuance of what a community actually needs versus what they're told they need, if that makes sense.
I think that was perfect, Phoenix. That was like a way of saying it. Yeah.
1 second, we didn't hear you.
Oh, I said, I think that was a perfect way of saying that. Like, that's exactly right.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any additional questions? Comments, concerns? Well, if all hearts and minds are clear, I once again want to say thank you. Saiya, this has been great. I encourage everyone to go to the CoCensus website. Please email Saiya and just kind of tell her thank you, and also look up CoCensus, the founder, Tasia O'Brien. She's dope. Yeah, and I hope the program kind of gets to utilize a lot of this information. If you have any additional questions, of course, you can email Saiya, you can email me, Dr. Rahmana, what have you. And also, before we leave, I need a topic for next discussion, next conversation cafe. So if this was something that spoke to you, great, let me know that. If this is something that you were just like, let me know that also. But yes, definitely give me a topic. That includes faculty and staff as well, but definitely the students, because I'm only here in Bulldog world for you guys. So if that's everything, I hope everybody has a blessed rest of your day and week. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you
Peace.
so much.
Thank you very much, Saya. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Phoenix.
Yes. All right. Who's
Bye,
you
everybody.
recording?
Bye, everyone.